Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Reform UK Deputy Leader Ben Habib and his latest appalling comments, which I note Richard Tice is doing nothing about. We know that Reform UK are deliberately trying to attract a certain type of voter. Those with very authoritarian, often xenophobic, if not downright racist perspectives. As a result, many of the people they are attracting to become candidates share these traits. But Reform UK do not want to be seen as explicitly bigoted. They want to attract their votes, but they want candidates and representatives who seem more normal. Their purpose is to try to claim that these hateful views are actually legitimate concerns. They're not against immigration, for example. They just say they're against what they call unlimited immigration or open borders, even though there was never such a thing now or in the past. But they inevitably end up with candidates who are openly misogynistic, racist, or scummy in some other way. When people point out how they've gone public with certain views, Tice has acted quickly to sack them as Reform UK candidates. But because they attract so many of these people, and he has no serious vetting procedure, he's had to sack about 70 candidates so far. But it would appear that although he'll take a low tolerance attitude towards nobodies who paid to be party candidates, he's a little bit more forgiving of senior foot soldiers for the party, who you'd think should be held to an even higher standard. Lee Anderson has been pushing racist lies in Blackpool this week, but as disgusting as Anderson is, and is trying to be, not a patch on Ben Habib, is he? After the news that people had drowned in the Channel, including a young child recently, Habib said that we should just let them drown. The interviewer, Julia Hart-Brewer, who's famous for not having a great deal of sympathy or empathy herself. She's often known as Julia Heartless Brewer for good reason. But she was shocked. It's too much for her. She asked him to clarify that he was really saying we should let these people drown, and he said, absolutely. Later on, he tried to deny that he said this, but it's on video, mate. But now he's at it again. Although his latest statement is nowhere near as bad as wishing people to drown, it's still a continuation of open hate, which Reform UK seem happy with. At the news that Humza Yousaf resigned yesterday, Ben Habib said on Twitter, and I quote, "Delighted to see Sadiq Khan has resigned." Someone replied, "Don't you mean Humza Yousaf, Ben?" And he replied, "Same difference." Well, no. So Habib thinks that Khan and Yousaf are so similar that they're not only easily confused, but when someone points out that they are in actual fact different people, they double down on the idea that they may as well be the same person. So just how similar are Khan and Yousaf? Well, one is Mayor of London, the other is leader of the SNP and First Minister of Scotland. One is a notable figure within the Labour Party, the other is in the SNP. They don't look alike. No way of confusing their appearance. Yousaf has a beard. Khan is significantly greyer. Their faces are not similar. Their style of dress is not similar. Their accents are not similar. One's Scottish, the other's from London. As such, they can't even agree on how to pronounce basic words like grass, laugh, or graph. Is it because they're both of Asian origin? Is it a case of, oh, they all look alike to me? No, that can't be right, because Ben Habib is of Asian origin. Actually, that's not quite true, is it? Habib is actually from Pakistan. He immigrated to Britain as a teenager. But nonetheless, there's no way that Habib can have a blind spot for distinguishing between two men whose ancestry is from the same part of the world where he was born and grew up. The only possible similarity can be that both Khan and Yousaf are Muslim. An openly Islamophobic comment from a senior representative of Reform UK, and yet Richard Tice continues to do nothing. He'll happily drop unknown candidates for this sort of behaviour. He's already had their money, and there's a long queue of people who would love to be on the ballot for his rotten party. And there is a real danger here as well, that as a society, we're getting to the point where this rhetoric could become acceptable. Like, we're not the United States. They go, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. In the UK, we understand that freedom of expression is not freedom from responsibility. That something you say can restrict the freedom of others to live their life in safety. That words which incite hatred or violence remove the freedoms of others. So expression has to exist within boundaries which allow others to live freely as well. If we allow the likes of Habib and Anderson and others to spread this sort of rhetoric, we encourage many more to do likewise. We make it mainstream. Instead of just calling out the individuals when they make these statements, what we really need is a push as a society to deal with it. And you know, ultimately that means the government have to take the lead. They are the guardians of society. Because I could get into, I don't know whether Ben Habib is having to make these statements because he's on that part of politics. He was in the Brexit party, now he's in Reform UK, but he's an immigrant from Asia. So does he have to go the extra mile to present these sort of credentials so that people within that community will accept him? Doesn't matter. I don't need to get into that, because this is just one individual, but there are many others doing it as well. There was a time when the Conservatives called out this sort of rhetoric from the BNP. Now they stand by. Worse, some of their own number engage in similar rhetoric themselves. You know, so there's a lot of focus on Richard Tice today, the leader of Reform UK, who's clearly not taking action at the top of his party. But self-regulation of political parties cannot be the answer. Whether it's dealing with harassment of staff by MPs or divisive, hateful rhetoric, politics needs policing. It doesn't need conventions. It doesn't need self-regulation. It needs rules. We need clear rules on acceptable behaviour. We should have a high standard of expected behaviour from politicians. Because it's not freedom of speech if your speech stops others being free to live their lives. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.